you very much.
Recording in progress.
And greetings to everyone. So thank you very much and greetings to everybody. In keeping with our own tradition, I will now bow to my right and bow to my left. And having done so, I now request delegates to observe a moment of silence for prayer or meditation. Thank you very much. Given that so many things happen in our lives in general, I would like to request members just one more time to observe a moment of silence for all our departed colleagues, comrades, friends and relatives, and members of the community. Especially, we take this moment to remember our veterans, who passed on yesterday. Was also a member of the National Council of Provinces and participated in numerous activities related to Parliament. Can you observe a moment of silence just one more time as indicated? Thank you very much. Allow me, honorable members, to remind all delegates that the rules and the processes apply for this virtual sitting. I would therefore like to remind you of the following: that the virtual sitting constitutes a sitting of the National Council of Provinces, that the place of the sitting is deemed to be Cape Town, where the seat of the National Council of Provinces is. That delegates in the virtual sitting enjoy the same powers and privileges that apply in the sitting of the National Council of Provinces. That for the purpose of the quorum, all delegates who are logged onto the virtual platform shall be considered present. That delegates must switch on their videos if they want to speak. That delegates should ensure that the microphones on their gadgets are muted and must always remain muted. That the interpretation facility is active. That permanent delegates, members of the executive, special delegates, and salary representatives are requested to ensure that the interpretation facility on their gadgets are properly activated to facilitate access to the interpretation services. That any delegate who wishes to speak must use the raise your hand function or icon. Having done so, let me also take this opportunity to indicate to honorable delegates that in accordance to Council Rule 2291, there will be no notice of motion or motions without notice. We will now proceed to the question session, but before we proceed, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the Deputy President, the MECs, and all permanent and special delegates to the House. Furthermore, I would like to make the following remarks: that the time for reply by the Deputy President to a question is 5 minutes. That only 4 supplementary questions are allowed per question. That a member who has asked the initial question will be the first to be afforded an opportunity to ask a supplementary question. That the time for asking supplementary question is 2 minutes. That the time for reply to a supplementary question is 4 minutes. And just to ensure that we're consistent in the work that we do, and to remind all honorable members that the supplementary question must emanate from the initial question. And I emphasize this precisely because at our last sitting, this issue, none of the past sittings, this issue did arise. So we're emphasizing that the supplementary question must emanate from the initial question and not from the answer. Thank you very much. We will now proceed to the first question, and I now call upon the Honorable Deputy President to respond to question number 13, asked by Honorable S.J. Mohai, and just to emphasize that this question is on the delay in processing food relief funds. Asked by Honorable Mohai, is directed to the Deputy President. Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon to yourself and to all members of the National Council of Provinces. Honorable Chairperson, the House will remember that roads, bridges, water, and sanitation pipelines, telecommunications, power lines, houses, schools, health facilities were among those critical infrastructure that were severely damaged. Collectively, this impacted on the delivery of basic services by the government within a eThekwini municipality. In response to the flood disaster that occurred in April, that inflicted severe destruction and affected municipalities, the government responded by sending a multi-sectoral response team in three-pronged approach to better coordinate our response, our recovery, and reconstruction measures within all the affected provinces. You'll remember that the provinces that we're talking about, it's KZN in this case, but Eastern Cape also included. The three phases are immediate humanitarian relief, stabilization and recovery, and rehabilitation and reconstruction. National Treasury and COGTA have worked with the KwaZulu-Natal provincial government to identify and reprioritize resources to respond to the current crisis and cover any shortfalls. Various projects are being rolled out and are in various stages of implementation. We take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the private sector and community-based organizations for their contribution to the implementation of disaster relief measures and the provision of essential infrastructure and services to affected communities. As government, we want to confirm that the process has not been as smooth as we anticipated it to be. Even though we have a multidisciplinary system we referred to above, there were still problems with planning, execution, and keeping track of projects. We established this later during an audit progress we have made within the period that we have set ourselves to complete this process. Observed weaknesses are the prevalence of old challenges that resulted in serious delays in meeting our delivery deadlines as initially determined. These challenges included, among others, poor coordination, integration, and sharing of capacity and resources between all the three spheres of government that would have mitigated against inadequate identification and measurement of the extent of the damage, poor project management, including tight planning, budgeting, and execution, poor contracting, including pricing and monitoring of project delivery, inadequate risk management process, unnecessary delays caused by policy red tape, and tedious procedures when responding to disasters. All of the above, Honorable Chairperson, resulted in failure to monitor and track progress and quality of the project delivery, leaving affected communities and people highly frustrated while forced to live for a prolonged period under very unconducive conditions. To this effect, we want to take this opportunity to apologize to all affected communities and families and individuals for having subjected them to this situation for a long time. As part of remedying this situation, we'll strengthen our monitoring mechanism, identify implementation capacity gaps, and work with the provinces to close the gaps while creating synergies across the entire value chain to ensure that people are assisted as promptly as possible. We are committing to remedying the situation by ensuring that we urgently put an end to the misery currently faced by our communities, our families, and individuals affected by the flood. We are going to do this by strengthening intergovernmental coordination between the three spheres of government, ensuring that intergovernmental capacity with agency to restore livelihoods and improve services to all communities, especially in eThekwini and other affected municipalities within a set time frame. Making sure that national, provincial, and municipal leadership commit to take urgent actions within strict specified dates. Ensure that suitable preventative controls are identified, strengthened, and implemented as a matter of urgency so that we can avoid wastages, corruption, and failure of infrastructure rebuilding phase on a set timeline. Ensuring that effective service delivery and value for money are realized in the process. Continue to build disaster management capabilities to prepare for future disasters. Ensuring transparency and continuous communication of progress to the affected communities. We should acknowledge the presence of objective factors with regard to the availability of suitable, well-located land for sustainable human settlement near places of work, so that we have also played a major role in the settlement of people. We call on all stakeholders to commit to joining hands with us in ensuring that we minimize the effects of disasters on communities by promoting sustainable and disaster-proof measures. Our municipalities remain ready to assist where necessary in ensuring that human settlements are located and built in suitable and safe areas so that we prevent any unforeseen disasters that might occur in future. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deputy President. The first supplementary question A follow-up question will come from Honorable Mohai. Honorable Mohai.
Thank you, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. And thank you to the Honorable Deputy President for your response and also laying bare challenges that resulted in delays in the allocation of funds for the floods. It appears, among others, Deputy President, that the release of funds are, among others, the delays in the release of funds are, among others, caused by the technical scoping of the financial resources required and the appropriate project design for the implementation of the rehabilitation of the destroyed infrastructure. And the question is, will the Deputy President consider advising relevant national departments, that is National Treasury, Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, Human Settlement, and COGTA, to establish a joint multidisciplinary team to provide hands-on technical support and capacity to the affected municipalities and KZN provincial government in this regard. We appreciate when you emphasize, Deputy President, that intergovernmental relations and coordination will be strengthened. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair.
Deputy President.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Mohai. Yesterday, we had a cabinet meeting and we took time to go straight into this issue. And we've identified a number of challenges that are facing our response in KZN. And we have taken upon ourselves to improve the areas and the gaps that we've identified. Firstly, the multidisciplinary response team should be strengthened, and the capacity of our disaster response should be strengthened even for future disasters. Our capacity to measure the scope and scale of the damage caused by the flood is going to be upscaled, and our project management capacity needs to be upscaled. But lastly, even the release of money in disaster areas should be quick without really allowing any room for corruption. And we're happy that in the process in KZN, the Auditor General has been moving with the multidisciplinary team in checking exactly whether money that is spent there, there's value for it. So yes, we have taken steps to improve the situation. And we want to again say to the people of KZN, especially Tegwini, our apology for these delays. And I'm sure beyond yesterday, we'll see an improvement in terms of all the projects that are supposed to be implemented. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The second follow-up question will come from the DA. DA.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and I greet you from Kimberley, where we are doing oversight, as many of our other colleagues are. Chairperson, the question to the Deputy President. Deputy President, some may say your answer was admirable because you admitted the fault of government in this matter. Now, Chairperson, I serve on the ad hoc committee for the April floods response and recovery. And I spoke in a joint sitting debate in the Good Oak Chamber on this issue. The point is, Deputy President, is that your government were asleep at the wheel. Even the President acknowledged that your government was not ready for this disaster, despite the fact that climate change has informed us and any study of weather patterns over the past 50 years, that this storm was on its way and your government was not ready. Now, anybody would appreciate the fact that you've admitted fault, you've admitted all the failures, but what do we tell to the 450 people that died at your hands in this disaster? and they died because they did not receive early warnings of the dire nature of the storm coming. What do we do? What do we tell the people of KZN when we see that Razzmatazz Construction, the same name as the minister Razzmatazz, has received 35 million rand in construction work? Is that a coincidence? Now, Deputy President, the question I have for you is, you said yesterday you were in a cabinet meeting to discuss what you should do. May I make a suggestion? Why don't you consider this? Why did your government not resign in absolute disgrace because you have the death of 450 South Africans on your hand? And I'm glad you think it's funny, Deputy President. I'm glad you think the death of 450 of our compatriots is funny. But why don't you resign in disgrace, call early elections, and allow a party and others who can form a coalition to actually run this country properly? Why don't you do that, Deputy President?
Thank you very much, Deputy President.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Well, I haven't heard the question exactly, but I'll respond. The honorable member will remember that I said in my response that we have undertaken to improve our disaster response mechanism, our capability in responding to disaster was not up to the level, the required level. We have identified that, and we are taking it upon ourselves to improve it, because disasters will always happen in future. And probably we are improving our early warning systems so that we can prepare well before a disaster occurs. But we must say that not all is lost, because there is a certain amount that has been spent in education, in social relief, in water projects, but we are saying we are not happy with the progress. That is why people are still in community halls, people are still living in tents, and we apologize for that delay. And we commit to improve that situation. That is what I've said, Honorable Member. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We'll now move on to the third supplementary question from the EFF. Honorable Mletsane.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy President, we are now 4 months after those dreadful floods in April. The removal of any red tape so as to allow for the processing of flood relief funds is long overdue. People, they hear what you have said, but Deputy President, what they want to hear is, on which day will funds be released to intended recipients? How much longer should our people have to wait, stranded in shelters and community halls, before assistance is made available for those women and children? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much. There is a certain amount of money that has been released, though not adequate, but the rate of delivery on the ground is not satisfactory. Because in certain areas, in certain sectors, the money has not been utilized, all of it. But the Department of Education in KZN managed to spend their 18 million to procure all their mobile classrooms, so that all the schools that were affected, children are now in mobile classes. That was a prompt response to relocate children. All what should happen now is to rebuild the schools, because the mobile classrooms were a temporary venture. All what we can say is that the pace at which the projects are being undertaken is not satisfactory. That's where we want to upscale. And the amount of money that has been released is not up to our satisfaction. The red tape must be reduced. So all these are the things that we have discussed, and we're going to improve on those things. And I'm sure people of KZN will realize some progress in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We'll now proceed to the fourth and the last follow-up question from the EFF. Honorable Toit.
Honorable Chair, please, from the Freedom Front Plus, I have my pride. Deputy President, thank you, Chair.
My apologies, Freedom Front Plus. Honorable
Thank you, Chair. Deputy President, in January 2022, the KZN provincial government took a decision to retain 8 of the province's struggling municipalities under administration until the 30th of April 2022. Now, the municipalities, which include Ichikela, Mzimyati, and Nkayakuru, faced serial financial difficulties such as unfunded budgets, huge budget deficits, persistent power cuts, and threats from Eskom infrastructure and service delivery challenges. The severe flooding took place between the 11th and the 13th of April, as we all know. Deputy President, since government instructed municipalities to redirect their own funds to address flood-related issues and claim these funds back from National Treasury at a later stage, what approach was taken to assist these municipalities that were placed under Section 139 with flood relief funds, since they were not able to provide decent service delivery before the floods? Thank you, Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much. The instruction to reprioritize funds was directed to the provincial government and to some of the municipalities that were financially viable, that had money at their disposal. We're quite aware of some of the municipalities that don't have money. eThekwini municipalities did reprioritize their budget, and they set aside money. The provincial government, in a number of areas, in terms of social relief, in terms of education, in terms of health, they reprioritized their budget and they executed a few projects. That has happened. The gripe here and our point of like not satisfactory. We're saying the amount of money that has been released is not adequate from National Treasury. We acknowledge that. And we say the pace at which projects are being undertaken on the ground is not acceptable. It must be improved. We say project management should be upscaled, and our capacity to handle disaster and to be able to calculate the amount of damage within a short space of time. That means we need technical capacity that will back our work in disaster-prone areas. All those areas have been identified and are going to be attended to, and we hope there will be an improvement. Thank you very much.
President, please unmute. Unmute, please, Chair. Honorable Masondo, unmute, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lucas. The next question is question number 14. This question is on National Energy Crisis Committee. Question is from Honorable Sila Buskakne and is directed to the Deputy President. Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The political task team on ESCOM was established by the President to serve as the institutional policy coordination platform that brings together key players within government to provide political leadership towards the resolution of challenges that are currently facing ESCOM. The task team was mandated to coordinate the implementation of interventions aimed at ensuring that ESCOM is able, among other things, to resolve key challenges around the implementation of a credible and a transparent national maintenance program, oversee the speedy implementation of a short-term energy generation, implement a targeted program to address rising municipal debt to ESCOM. Additional to the above mandate, the political task team also tended to the acceleration of the Just Energy Transition Plan, which incorporates the use of renewable energy towards sustainable and equitable low carbon emission. To this end, the political task team on ESCOM has been successful at policy level in delivering on its mandate. The notable milestone includes enabling and fostering greater coordination between ESCOM and various government departments, ensuring that ESCOM develops and implement a credible and a transparent maintenance program, fast-tracking the energy procurement of additional energy to address the electricity gap, addressing debt and liquidity challenges within ESCOM, fast-tracking the process of ministerial determination on bid window 5. The political task team was also seized with expanding the correction of plant defects at Medupe and Usile stations in order to ensure that the grid has an additional 1,000 megawatts of base load capacity to address the load shedding problem. Notwithstanding all these policy coordination, intervention, and milestones, it is common cause that ESCOM continues to experience inconsistent supply of electricity due to the plant breakdowns. In the main, challenges centered around the limitation of the aging fleet, the inability to keep up with the demands of unplanned maintenance and repairs, inevitable inadequate energy generation capacity resulted in declining energy availability. This led to the sustained power outages during the month of July, thereby attracting public backlash, and that prompted the urgent dedicated cabinet discussion on further extraordinary measures to immediately bring to a halt what was becoming a perennial national electricity supply challenge. The outcome of this discussion led to the President announcing the National Energy Action Plan on the 25th of July, 2022. That represents a step change in our efforts to achieve energy security. It became necessary to build on the work of the political task team by establishing an institutional mechanism that will be dedicated to sustained hands-on strategic and technical operations in order to respond effectively to the energy supply challenges. At this point, work of the political task team was transitioned to be covered within the scope of the National Energy Crisis Committee. The immediate priority of the National Energy Crisis Committee is to unlock policy and implementation blockages, streamline decision-making processes, and eliminate any red tape issues. In his statement, the President announced that the National Energy Crisis Committee will focus on the following 5 interventions: stabilizing ESCOM and improving plant performance, and establishing a competitive electricity market, transitioning to new sustainable energy sources from renewable gas and battery storage, releasing businesses and households to invest on rooftop, solar, and transforming the electricity sector to achieve long-term energy security so that the country never experiences electricity shortage in future. The immediate objective of the National Energy Action Plan is to reduce the severity and the frequency of load shedding by implementing measures to stabilize the energy system. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first supplementary question will come from Honorable Baga. Honorable Baga.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy President, in a recent question session in this House, Minister Kungubele stated in response to an NECOM question that he is a fan of accountability. DP, do you share this sentiment and will therefore support the request for an ad hoc committee to oversee the National Crisis Committee to ensure implementation and accountability this time around? Thank you, Chair.
Deputy President.
Thank you very much. I think the duty of our legislative arm is always to play an oversight role and to ensure that things do happen. So that is within the ambit of our legislative arm to ensure that the executive is held accountable. I don't have a problem with that. But this time we're grappling with a problem that is not started yesterday. It's a problem of the shortage of power generation. The two power stations that are new build, they've got lots of technical defaults. As a result, they are not functioning at their required full capacity. We hope if these two power stations can come into operation fully, that will also assist a lot in trying to stabilize our energy generation challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The second follow-up question comes from the ANC, Honorable Mkiva.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Manibulise kuwe, ndibulise nakumalungu ahloniphekileyo alendlu. Ndibulele nakusekela mongameli ngokuthi angcotshe xa esinika impendulo ngomsebenzi esebewenzile ekuzameni ukusombuluka ingxaki yengxingongo esijongene nayo yokokubana siqhwalela kwicala lokugqithisa umbane. Sivuma ke into yokubana mhle umsebenzi abawenzayo njengokwesitsho. Ndivumele ke mhlali ngaphambili into yobana ndilumele ukwenzela ubana usekela mongameli andive ngqotswi umbuzo wam endiwujolisayo. Honorable Deputy President, thanks so much for that elaborate response. There is no doubt that ESCOM and the energy crisis challenges are multifaceted, and actually they present a multiplicity of predicaments that require a multidisciplinary approach, both at political and technical level. My question is whether the government conducted any diagnosis of the efficiency and effectiveness of previous interventions to strengthen proposed interventions going forward. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mkiva. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much. I think, Honorable Chair, government took a thorough assessment of the situation around ESCOM. And we have developed a turnaround strategy that mainly looked at the maintenance of the fleet, our energy plants, that looked at the skills capacity within ESCOM, that looked at the financial situation within ESCOM, and we've identified a lot of threats that continue to affect ESCOM. Now, we have responded. The first response which is limited by the aging fleet, is the maintenance of the fleet. There are more unplanned outages than planned outages. That means there are more breakages that disrupt energy generation and that disrupts the plan of ESCOM. And ESCOM would eventually go into load shedding because of breakages in our plants that are unforeseen. This is at the bottom of our challenge that is facing ESCOM. All what is needed now is additional energy, additional generation, right from our independent power producers, which are moving a bit slow, but they are gradually introducing energy into the grid. But we need external energy that in the meantime can be bought to cushion the demand, because the demand is more than what we can generate as ESCOM, and therefore these power outages will happen from time to time. Our general problem is the aging fleet that is no longer reliable, will break at any time. We are hoping that when we conclude Medupe and Usile, that will bring more or less 1,000 megawatts into the grid. That will also assist in closing the demand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The third supplementary question comes from Honorable Khatebe. Honorable Khatebe.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to the Honorable Deputy President and honorable members. Honorable Deputy President, the energy crisis is both financial and one of generation. The lifting of the ceiling on standalone electricity generation certainly aids in the generation of power, but can deepen the financial crisis as municipalities rely on revenue from electricity to finance service delivery. What role will municipalities play in ensuring the licensing and compliance of electricity generation for independent power producers? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much. Municipalities have been given the opportunity to procure generation capacity so that they can service customers and consumers within their jurisdiction. That means a municipality can go out on a tender to invite possible investors to invest in power generation that will take care of the needs of the municipality. So a number of municipalities are in that process now of securing additional power generation so that they can get out of the dependency on ESCOM for power generation. We think that will alleviate the burden on ESCOM and will create the necessary competition so that ESCOM is not a monopoly on power generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We now proceed to the fourth and the last follow-up question from the EFF. Honorable Arnold.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Deputy President, implementation will be critical to rescue South Africans and the economy from ongoing load shedding. Your executive has a poor record of implementation and accountability, as Minister Mantashe should have implemented many of these measures long ago. Now, my question to you, Deputy President, is why establishing more talk shops instead of fixing an old energy crisis? Is the establishment of a new presidential national energy crisis committee, not a scapegoat for accountability. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Member, I don't think so that the establishment of the crisis committee is a scapegoat. This is the significance that we place on this challenge. It has reached a point where we define it as a crisis, and it will depend and demand a response that is equal to a crisis. That means as we respond to this challenge, we must do everything in our power to respond to this challenge because it has reached a crisis point. Now, what does that mean? It means certain policies and procedures and frameworks must be shortened to achieve the desired goal, to ensure that we improve our generation. For instance, your environmental impact assessment, which normally takes a long period for any project to happen, we need to shorten that. Now, this crisis committee will have the ability to shorten the policy and the duration of an environmental assessment period so that we can achieve the desired goal of ensuring that we put a generation plant. For us to build a generation plant, it takes a long time. Now, that has frustrated all our independent power producers, and we are looking at that. We are going to shorten the process so that we can deliver on these independent power producers renewable energy so that we can add energy into the grid. So that is the essence of this crisis committee. We're responding to the situation which is a crisis, and we want to resolve it. We're going to pull all stops, and all departments that are affected are going to take part in the crisis committee, and the crisis committee is chaired by the president. From time to time, reports are going to be given to the president, and support that is needed will also be given to the crisis committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We now move to the next question. And our next question is question number 15. This question is on debt recovery plan. The question comes from Honorable T.P. Mamurobela and is directed to the Deputy President. Deputy President.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, debt owed to municipalities by municipalities to ESCOM remains biggest challenge to the utilities' financial sustainability. According to National Treasury, debt by municipalities to ESCOM has since grown from 44.8 billion to 49.1 billion between March and July 2022. This is not a desirable state of affairs for both ESCOM and municipalities. That is why ESCOM forms part of the Multidisciplinary Revenue Committee, which is meant to address challenges related to the payment of debts owed to ESCOM by municipalities and organs of state. The committee's main task is to improve revenue collections and the strengthening of partnership with various stakeholders in order to improve payment levels of indebted municipalities. These efforts include the implementation of the ESCOM active partnering model by defaulting municipalities. Through this active partnering program, municipalities can collaborate with ESCOM to address their business and operational difficulties in a non-threatening and secure environment, and ensure sustainability of electricity infrastructure, and the upscaling of municipalities' technical expertise. The program's holistic focus enables municipalities to rebound financially and carry out their constitutional obligation to provide their customers with more dependable electricity. Through this program, municipalities benefit from securing their revenue streams and are able to pay for their large-scale electricity purchases from Eskom. Eskom's responsibility in this model is to assist municipalities by presenting them with a customized solution to handle their unique challenges. The partnerships' joint effort are intended to increase the consistency and security of consumers' access to electricity, while guaranteeing that proper tariffs are applied and that there is implementation of more robust control measures to promote sustainable economic recovery. More importantly, implementation of more robust control measures enhances revenue collection and targeted investment in sustainable electricity provision infrastructure. Already as part of this active partnering model, a number of defaulting municipalities across different provinces are in the process of negotiating and concluding service level agreement with Eskom. This includes Maluta Pofo, which is on the brink of signing the agreement with Eskom. Due to the rapid growth and quantum of the balance, Eskom is collaborating with National Treasury on structuring solutions to assist with the collection of municipal area debt and manage the payment of municipalities' current accounts in order to prevent further growth in the area debt. Having said this, Honorable Chairperson, this must be an area that all of us agree that the debt of 38 billion rand that is owed to Eskom is highly unsustainable. That is why National Treasury is working with the Department of Public Enterprise and Eskom to develop sustainable solutions that will address Eskom's debt burden in an equitable and a fair manner. As part of the internal cost efficiencies and equity conditions, cost-saving targets by Eskom of 21.4 billion rand for the financial year 2023 and up to from 2020 to 2023 up to 61.8 billion has been set by Eskom. However, honorable members should note that these interventions will not necessarily reduce the tariff increases, as tariffs are not cost reflective. Instead, measures will assist in migrating towards cost reflective arrangements. These cost savings will therefore, among other things, assist Eskom in absorbing the increase in diesel and wage settlement costs. With regards to the long-term sustainability of Eskom, National Treasury, in collaboration with the Department of Public Enterprise, is regularly monitoring Eskom's liquidity position and operational efficiency. Having said all of this, we must re-emphasize the need for our citizens with financial means to pay for services they receive. We'll continue to instill in all our communities a culture of payment for the services that we utilize. To assist in this regard, SALGA has ordered municipalities to start a strict debt collection and restructuring process in an effort to recover debt owed to them and to stop municipalities mounting debt to Eskom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We'll now move on to the first follow-up question from Honorable Mamu Rubela. Honorable Mamu Rubela.
Ndoliwa Muzrashi Duro Bon Tate Masondo. Rikoriwa na Deputy President vane na musewo da upindura izino mbudziso na urutendera rishita zi follow up question zosumbedza vurangapanda yeso. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President, for elaborate response, which we welcome as African National Congress. The issue of the intergovernmental debt to ESCOM is a long-standing commitment by the leading party of mass revolution, of course, the African National Congress. Deputy President, for us, the key question is whether there is an integrated government-wide plan with measurable targets, outcomes, and clear milestones. If so, what are the relevant details? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We have set up a multidisciplinary revenue committee, of which ESCOM is part of that committee, involving the Department of Public Works, COCTA, Department of Public Enterprise, Minerals and Energy. Now, to look at this challenge that is facing ESCOM, and National Treasury is part of that committee. Now, there are major milestones that we have achieved through that committee. For instance, that committee made it possible that all government departments under the leadership of the Department of Public Works paid the amount that is owed to ESCOM. To date, there's only bills that are being queried for correctness in terms of billing that are still outstanding, but all other bills have been paid by departments, right from national going down to provinces. Municipalities have paid, some are continuing to default. That has improved the amount of money that has been collected. But again, because of these bigger municipalities that are owing ESCOM, almost the top 20, they constitute almost close to 30 billion. These top 20 municipalities, these are the municipalities that present a problem. Now, a program has been set where these municipalities must negotiate with ESCOM, set timeframes on how they are going to repay their debts. Now, we have got this active partnering model, which ESCOM is entering to with municipalities to ensure that in the process, ESCOM helps the municipality to collect revenue, fix the infrastructure, put smart meters to ensure that they collect revenue. And at the end of the day, the municipality will receive its own revenue and ESCOM will receive its own amount. So currently, a number of municipalities are negotiating to enter into that model. And we think that model will assist. But beyond that, ESCOM is owing more than 400 billion rand to companies that are outside where ESCOM has loaned money. And currently, ESCOM is battling to pay that amount. The National Treasury is assisting ESCOM to be able to pay the money. ESCOM is trying to do some cost-saving measures to make money available. And gradually, ESCOM was getting out of the problem. The biggest challenge is that the debt that ESCOM is owing to funders is very huge, above 400 billion. It undermines the ability of ESCOM to recover from all these debts and to ensure that it funds accordingly all its programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We'll now move on to the second supplementary question from EFF Plus. From FFF Plus, Honorable DeBray.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Deputy President, to some extent, you have just answered the question I was about to ask, but for clarity's sake, I will still continue, because on a previous occasion, in the first term, you stated that the government would look into the possibility to enforce the same type of arrangement in municipalities that is indebted to ESCOM, the same as the one that's now in use in Maluti Perform. And my question will be, will this model be rolled out to all indebted municipalities? And if so, how soon can this be done? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Chairperson, I'm sorry, I haven't heard exactly the question. The sound was faltering.
Honorable DeBray, please repeat the question. I know that you did say that the President partly covered the issue you wanted to raise. But please, let's have a repeat of that again, very, very briefly, and then the Deputy President will respond.
Thank you, Chair. I apologize. As you know, we are in oversight visits, so we have a bit of a problem with the signal. No, my question, just to sum it up, would be the model that's been used now in Maluti Perform, where ESCOM is assisting with the bidding and in that part of the process. Will that same model be rolled out to all indebted municipalities? And if so, how soon can this be done to ensure that ESCOM receives its funds as soon as possible?
Deputy President.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that. Now I've heard the question. The top 20 municipalities that are affected are the ones that are entering into this discussion with ESCOM. 8 municipalities have come forward to negotiate this partnering model and how it's going to work between those partners. Maluti Perform is almost closer to signing. But what is important in this model is that ESCOM will assist the municipality using its own money to put meters. National Treasury has made money available to assist municipalities to put meters so that they can collect credible, they can bill customers, and the billing system should be credible, and they can receive their revenue. Now, ESCOM will collect the revenue and ensure that any electricity infrastructure that is aging, they fix the infrastructure, collect the revenue, and give the municipality what is due to the municipality and take what is due to ESCOM. They will continue until such time that they've resolved the debt. And after resolving the debt, they will then part ways. Municipalities will continue now to run their businesses and handle the revenue collections themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the President. Let's proceed to the third follow-up question from the EFF, Honorable Matebula.
Nakhensa Mutsamashtul. Shanda Shamurangeri wa tiko. It seems as though all the measures put by your government have failed. Have the Deputy President and his executive consider consulting with other developed nations such as China, on which has never resorted to load shedding, on measures to take to provide stable electricity in our country, Nakens?
Thank you very much, Honorable Matebula. Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. One basic thing in our country is that we need to change our mindset as people. We must be able to pay for all the services that we consume. Now, look at the amount that is owed by municipalities to ESCOM. In the real sense, it's not the fault of municipalities, but it's the fault of the consumers that are not paying. Now, at the end of the day, the power utility ESCOM is suffering because the consumers are not paying. They illegally connect into the grid. Now, this time the distribution grid, which is the custodian of municipalities, is greatly compromised. Lots of illegal connections, people are stealing electricity, daylight. It's becoming a norm. Now, you don't need such a culture in a country that is developing, because the citizens must actively take part in the development of that country by doing their part. So that is just generally the problem. Of course, some of the problems can reside within ESCOM to run the power utility. That can be dealt with, but also the citizens must take full control of their share of the problem, so that all of us can grow South Africa together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Now we move on to the fourth follow-up question from the DA, Honorable Occupants.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Deputy President, the measures announced by the President in order to minimize load shedding is straight out of the DA's handbook. It is just a pity that it took the President so long to implement what we in the DA have long been asking for over many years. Honorable Deputy President, you have mentioned now some of the amounts that ESCOM owes. It is catastrophically high, and there is no way in which ESCOM will be able to repay that. The only way to truly save ESCOM financially and save the country from load shedding is for ESCOM to be privatized. Honorable Deputy President, will you this time round timeously listen to the advice provided by the DA and urgently implement measures that will allow for the privatization of ESCOM, which is the only way that it will be saved? Or will you again wait till it is too late before you implement the DA's sound proposals? Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me thank the Honorable Member for the proposal. Well, I'm not convinced about that proposal of privatizing ESCOM. I think we just need to get the utility working and ensure that there are sound governance structures within ESCOM, the required skills level at ESCOM at a power plant level, and we can run this utility. We've managed in the past to run this utility, and we can't fail. I don't think privatizing the power utility is the answer going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, the President. We will then move on to the next question, which is question 16. Question number 16 is on establishment of National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. establishment of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. This question is from Honorable Khadebe and is directed to the Deputy President. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you once more, Honorable Chairperson. The ANC-led government remains committed in fighting crime and corruption in the country. In efforts of intensifying the fight against corruption and maladministration, the President announced in the 2021 State of the Nation Address the establishment of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. This council is a multi-sectoral advisory body that will advise the President on matters related to the fight against corruption in the country. The process of the appointment of the commissioners to the council started with the public call for nominations and the shortlisting of eligible candidates, which was conducted in March 2022. A short list of candidates has since been submitted to the President for his consideration. Since the appointment of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council is the prerogative of the President, it is a normal and an acceptable practice not to prescribe timelines on matters of this nature. The President is well aware of the urgent need to have this important advisory body and will in due course make the appropriate appointments. Once fully constituted, the Council will, among other things, oversee the implementation of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, as well as the establishment of an independent statutory anti-corruption body reporting to Parliament. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We now proceed to the first supplementary question from Honorable Khadebe. Honorable Khadebe.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Deputy President, the job of the National Anti-Corruption Council is to decide on the institutional architecture of a South African anti-corruption agency. Where within the cabinet will such an agency be located, and what checks and balances will be in place to ensure its sustained independence? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think the Advisory Council will advise on that matter and advise the President going forward. Depending on the strategy, which has been amended, our anti-corruption strategy, but that's precisely the work of this council to advise the President on matters of fighting corruption. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We now proceed to the second follow-up question from the DA, the Honorable Lunt.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Deputy President. President Ramaphosa announced the establishment of the National Anti-Corruption Council in February, as you also pointed out, Honorable Deputy President. You also stated that in March he has already received the shortlist. Now, this is almost 6 months later after he has received the shortlist, yet no commissioners have been appointed. In your own words, you said that this should not be rushed and will be done in due time with no fixed timelines. Honorable Deputy President, given this lackluster pace in putting together the council, is it simply true that your government has no real commitment to tackling corruption, especially to avoid any step-aside rulings that might ruin the chances for your comrades coming up in December's conference or the 2024 election? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. No, the ruling party has got a track record in terms of fighting corruption. I don't think the delay in the appointment of the council members is deliberate on the side of the president. The president must satisfy himself about the correctness of the members and their capacity in terms of dealing with crime. And probably the president might not be satisfied with the short list that he has been given. And he's working on it. And I'm sure at the right time, the president will make the necessary appointments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We'll now proceed to the third supplementary question from Honorable Lutuli.
Ngibonge sihlalo umhlangano ngibingelele kusekela mongameli. Sekela mongameli, siyaqonda ukuthi ubugebengu kanye nenkohlakalo la eNingizimu Afrika kubonakala kwanda usuku nosuku, futhi asikho isikhathi sokuthi singalinda njengamanje ukuthi uthatha isikhathi eside kangaka ukuthi ukwazi ukuqokwa labo umongameli wayethe uzobuqoka. And ngiyakuzwa ukuthi uyachaza ukuthi isikhathi asikho sibekelwe ukuthi kuzothatha isikhathi singanani ukuthi baze baqoke, but umbuzo omunye obalekile lana ukuthi which measures have been put in place to check ukuthi that appointment ayobe yenziwa is in line with the qualifications, as we all are aware of how you deploy underqualified cadres in the critical position. Ngibonge Sekela Mongameli.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
I don't know, Honorable Chairperson, whether it's on my side. The Honorable Member, the sound was breaking. There are certain paragraphs that I didn't understand.
Yeah, no, I'll ask Honorable Lutuli to please repeat the question again.
Ngibonge sihlalo umhlangano. Sekela Mongameli, bengibuza ukuthi uyaqonda yini ukuthi ubugebengu nenkohlakalo kuyanda usuku nosuku lapha eNingizimu Afrika, while sisalindile ukuthi umongameli athathe sakhe isikhathi njengoba nje usho ukuthi akukho nanokujaha noma isikhathi esibekelwe ukuthi bazoqokwa nini. Ngase ngibuza kumbuzo ke Sekela Mongameli ukuthi imapha ama measures that you have put in place to check that appointment made are in line with qualifications, as we are all aware of how you deploy underqualified cadres in critical positions. Ngibonge kakhulu.
Honorable Deputy President.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I'm sure I understood the gist of the question. Firstly, I must say that the president in due time will really make the necessary appointments. And I'm sure he's applying his mind into the short lists. I must agree with the honorable member that the level of crime in the country is it's a concern. We've seen the gender-based violence, the lawlessness there. We've seen the zamazamas. And I'm confident that the security cluster is on top of this situation. They will be responding to this situation. Already, you might have seen the rearrangement that has been made within the police, and it looks like they're now in a position to deploy the necessary capacity in different areas where there are challenges. But I'm sure the security cluster will announce shortly what is going to be our approach in dealing with crime. Remember that we are not in a vacuum. We have got institutions and structures currently that are dealing with corruption. We have got structures like the SIU, just to name one, that are following on matters of corruptions. But now the introduction of this council is just to reinforce and get even role players outside government that can help government to fight crime and corruption. Because we must not fool ourselves and think that this is a duty of government alone. This is a societal duty that includes the members of the public also, to work with their own government and the private sector to fight crime. For all of us to have a growing country, to have our economy flourishing, we need collectively to join hands and fight crime and corruption. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We now proceed to the fourth and last follow-up question from the ANC. Honorable Malika.
Ngiyabonga sihlalo, ngibingelele kuphindini kaMengameli. Phindini kaMengameli, udaba lokubekwa kabusha kohlaka lwemithetho elwa nenkohlakalo kanye nohlaka lwesikhungo seluthole ukubaluleka kabusha enkulumeni yomphakathi ngemumva kokukhishwa kombiko wenkomishani kaZondo ngezinsolo zokuthunjwa kombuso kaphecelezi state capture. Nakho uye kwaveza imiphumela nezincomo ezithile mayelana nalokho. Deputy President, without preempting the commitment made by Honorable President Ramaphosa to table a plan on the implementation of the Zondo Commission report recommendations about the efficacy and effectiveness of the current anti-corruption, institutional and legislation framework. Umbuto wami, Deputy President, has government conducted any preliminary review of the efficacy and effectiveness of the current anti-corruption, institutional and legislative framework? Ngiyabonga sihlalo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. We must at the onset clarify the position of the Zondo Commission's report and the recommendations. The recommendations of that commission's, they are recommended to the president as the person who has appointed the commission. And the recommendations are not binding to the president. The president, if he doesn't really accept a certain recommendation, the president has got the right to clarify himself why he does not see this recommendation fit. Unlike other institutions, Chapter 9 institutions, that their recommendations are binding. So this commission, yes, we take the recommendations that have been recommended, and we're looking at all the recommendations. We're going to respond. Now, I'm aware that Parliament is also taking its own routes of creating a committee that will be looking at the report and developing its own response mechanism. The same with Cabinet. Cabinet is doing the same. Will therefore respond. Now, the report is also pointing out at our institutions that the commission feels these institutions are very weak. It's also pointing at our legislative framework, where the commission thinks there is a gap in terms of legislation that must be introduced to close the gap. So I'm hoping that come October, the president will come to the House and present our plan on how we're going to respond to the Zondo Commission and areas where the commission feels we must up the game in terms of fighting crime so that we can avoid the recurrence of the things that they've cited in the report. Now, we're going to respond to that report come October 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We'll now proceed to the question number 17. This question is on fallout caused by land invasions, fallout caused by land invasions. And the question is from Honorable Ryder, and it's directed to the Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Chairperson, we acknowledge and recognize the legacies of spatial inequality, land dispossession, marginalization, and exclusion that continue to threaten our social cohesion. This challenge should be looked at within the broader context of poverty, inequality, and unemployment in South Africa. Our view remains that if we do not address these issues of land justice, we will be aiding in the cultivation of an inevitable social friction that will pull us backward instead of launching us into a prosperous and a shared future. For as long as we do not address these challenges of inequitable access to economic opportunities in our society, people will naturally move to places where there are prospects of sustainable economic livelihoods. The historical apartheid spatial planning arrangement has created internal push and pull factors that force people to move to urban areas in search of economic opportunities. This has increased land hunger for human settlement and ultimately incidents of illegal land invasion and occupation, especially in urban areas. The illegal occupation of land and property negatively impacts on social cohesion within our communities. It also fuels social tensions and undue confrontation between law enforcement authorities and the land invaders. Part of the responsibility of the Interministerial Committee on Land Reform and Agriculture is to develop policies and the legislative framework to ensure equitable land redistribution. In this regard, government has taken preventative measures to expedite the release of state-owned land for human settlement and economic development. This is expected to result in meaningful participation in the economy. We strongly condemn anyone, whether civic or political, who promotes and encourages illegal land invasion and properties. Such a posture borders more on encouraging people to indulge in acts of lawlessness. We must be clear that illegal invasions are criminal in their nature. They negatively impact on the legitimate rights of individuals and communities to access land, housing, and property in a planned and orderly manner. As leaders, we must act responsible and ensure that people access land within the constitutionally defined processes that are inciting people to break the law. Our focus should be on helping them in addressing and resolving socio-economic challenges through collective commitment, shared national interests, and purposeful cohesion. It is for this reason that we continue to engage various sectors of our society to find legitimate means of resolving prevailing contradictions in our society. We want to thank our traditional leaders, our interfaith leaders, for their continued collaboration and support of various government efforts that are facing communities. From a policing perspective, the South African Police Service leads the implementation of a national rural safety strategy, which was launched by the minister in 2019. The strategy provides for policing requirements to the land rights and land tenure disputes. Land invasions are closely monitored by local police stations and where applicable by Metro Police. This is continuously reported to the provincial joint operation command centers. For more, the Minister of Police continuously engages communities through his Imbizo and awareness campaigns, emphasizing good relations and social cohesion. These engagements are yielding positive results where communities are working with the policing structures to report illegal actions of land invasion. Our commitment to ensuring equitable land access for development remains firm and unwavering. However, we will ensure that land restitution, redistribution, and tenure reforms are not undermined by acts of unlawful land invasion and occupation. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We'll move on to the first follow-up question from Honorable Ryder. Honorable Ryder.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy President, that was actually an excellent answer in theory. But Deputy President, the spotlight fell on the community of Phoenix following the July insurrection as a community that had been besieged by informal settlements growing up as a result of land invasions. The community had been left to deal with them with increased crime, with increased pressure on scarce resources, and on the basic service infrastructure, which is unable to cater for the increased demand caused by the unplanned for settlements. After 2 decades of struggling without support from the government, from your government, the community lashed out. We cannot condone their actions, Deputy President, but we must seek to understand them because they were frustrated. Now, Deputy President, the situation is replicated throughout the country. At Aikenhof last week, a well-liked local businessman died in a vehicle accident on his way home. Before emergency services arrived, he was robbed by people that are staying in the invaded land adjacent to the road, meaning that he could not be identified, and his family and the community searched for him, and their trauma was exacerbated and extended. The communities are now divided. Deputy President, communities are at odds with each other because the ANC-led government has failed to provide an adequate solution to house our people. You spoke about it in your reply about the infrastructural needs, about the policing needs. Deputy President, it's good theory, but have you got a plan to deal not with the symptoms, but with the underlying problems driving those land invasions and the resultant damage to social cohesion? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ryder. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Ryder. Now, we must really be firm on this one. Irregardless of the condition, it is wrong to invade land. To occupy land illegally is wrong. It should not be encouraged. However, we are prepared to look into the situation of the Phoenix community and see how best we can assist. Now that you have brought this issue up and you have made us aware, we must attend to the issue. But it should not be a justification to allow our communities to invade land. We have made a firm commitment in the IMC, and we have made tremendous progress in terms of releasing land for human settlement. That has been undertaken by Minister Tilil. We have released currently almost 14,000 hectares of land for human settlement and property development in and around our urban areas. We've released more than 700 hectares of land in terms of supporting small farmers that That land has been released. We've supported women, we've supported young people. We're in a process of restituting land. We're in a process of redistributing land and securing tenure for our people. Yes, we might be criticized that we're moving slow, but we're getting there. We're on the right direction. We must reprimand our people that taking law into their hands is not the best solution to deal with problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We now move to the second supplementary question from the FF+. Honorable
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Deputy President, have you taken any measures to ensure that the custodians of municipalities act on court orders issued that pertain to evictions after land invasions took place, to ensure that tensions of affected communities are eased and illegal occupants are removed? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. We have noticed that in a number of municipalities, they are running short of land for human settlement and for property development in and around the jurisdiction of that municipality. We have taken it upon ourselves to release land in those municipalities where there is no land for future development, for future human settlement. So in a way, we're trying to support those municipalities, and those municipalities where people have invaded land, I think we need to offer our people an alternative place where they must go and stay, because it is quite evident that they are running short of land. We're not justifying the action, but we must address the root cause of the action. So we must be clear here as the NCOP, as the National Assembly, as the legislative arm, that we are not aiding and we're not promoting land invasion. We're not condoning it. But as long as people can stand up and say they don't have land, it is the responsibility of government to provide land for those people for their own settlement, for their own development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We now proceed to the third supplementary question from the ANC. Honorable Mudise.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Deputy President, it is worth reminding South Africans that the ANC has been consistent about rejection of land invasions, be they for commercial or residential purpose. We did and continue to do this, whilst at the same time still continue committed to the reversal of the colonial and apartheid legacy of racialized spatial development planning, which endanger social cohesion. Honorable Deputy President, my question is whether the government has any plan to forge a national compact through dialogue with different stakeholders about addressing the homelessness and landless of disposed African majority. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mudise. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. A very good question. As government, we are in a process of developing that social compact. We have started a process of consulting communities that are living under the jurisdiction of our traditional leaders. It was a wide consultation, firstly wanting to deal with communal land and how best we can take this land back to their rightful owners. We consulted up until the land summit that we have convened. There's general consensus that our people are ready to receive this land. Some are proposing that they will release this land to their kings. Some are proposing that we release this land to their traditional council. Some are proposing that we should release this land to their community boards that they will be forming. So we are firming up all the proposals that were made in that summit and taking them forward to cabinet so that cabinet can pronounce itself on the different instruments and models that can be applicable in communal areas. The essence really is to try and ensure that there's security of tenure in our rural areas. There's also room for development, and there's also room for farming in those areas so that people can utilize the land around them to improve their livelihood. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We'll now proceed to the fourth and the last supplementary question from the EFF. Honorable Msamai.
Chairperson. Deputy President, who fought for the return of land during the liberation struggle so that our people can have land. Now, our people, they don't have land, and there can be no peace in our community unless we resolve the land question. Deputy President, for how long will the ANC government continue to marginalize Black African people by keeping them landless? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Well, we must agree with the Honorable Member that we don't foresee any social cohesion. We don't foresee any permanent peace as long as there's still land injustice. There we agree. So we must take it upon ourselves as government to support our people, offer them land for their own development. But we've agreed that we are going to do all these things, we're going to follow the law. We're going to do all these processes within the framework of the law. We're going to redistribute land within the framework of the law. We're going to restitute land within the framework of the law. We're going to improve tenure of our people within the framework of the law. All what is needed is to show cause that we are committed and we're moving in that direction. And as a country, we are moving in that direction. There are practical steps that we've taken to ensure that people get land that they've claimed, to ensure that people get land. They've not claimed that land, but they are being supported to use that land for their own development. People have been given land for their own security of tenure where they've built houses. And we've shown that through practical steps. But however, we must really condemn any practices that seeks to undermine law. Otherwise, we're going to be a lawless country. We should not allow lawlessness to creep in our society. We must inculcate a culture of respect of the law our people must respect the law, because that will make it easier for this country to move forward and to prosper. That is our intention as government, and that is what we purport to see in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Deputy President. We now move on to the last question, which is question number 18. The question is on intervention measures. Question is on intervention measures. Question is from Honorable Mandahai, and is directed to the Deputy President. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The state of our local government remains an important area of interface and delivery of services to the people. We are mindful that due to various subjective and objective factors, such as weak and non-existent tax base, a number of municipalities are still struggling to perform their desired level that ensures the realization of a better life for our people. Of major concern is that most of our municipalities are struggling to provide critical infrastructure and services that are key to sustaining existing local industries and attract new investment necessary for inclusive growth and job creation in their vicinity. The availability and well-maintained bulk water, sewer infrastructure, and road networks are critical to supporting businesses and facilitating investment and mobility of goods to markets. A large number of our low-capacity municipalities are struggling to maintain and expand socio-economic infrastructure in a manner that is commensurate with the rising population, in-migration, and increasing demand for services. Through the intergovernmental relation structures, there is consensus that in order to ensure sustainability of our municipalities, some of the areas that require improvement are leadership capacity in our municipalities, managerial competence, financial management skills, technical and project execution skills, especially in infrastructure projects. Government has taken a view that a coordinated, integrated, and a holistic approach is required to support development and service delivery in local government level. The coordination and consolidation of key resources and capabilities through our district development model creates the necessary institutional platform for government, private sector, and community stakeholders to bring about investment, infrastructure development, and maintenance, as well as essential support to businesses and local community economies. Through national government, municipalities are supported with the provisions and maintenance of bulk water and sewer infrastructure to address prevalent challenges of water and sanitation provision. From a governance perspective, the district development model supports targeted performance improvement in financial management, audit outcomes, integrated service provisioning, spatial planning, and systems of leadership, transparency, and accountability to the people. Importantly, this also includes the management and administration of legislation and policies and compliance requirements for development, for investment attraction, access to land, and opportunities for setting up businesses. To prevent the collapse of economic activity in rural and small towns, Cabinet at its economic retreat has identified some immediate measures for implementation. By and large, talk to reforms intended to eliminate red tapes. These reforms include the improvement in environmental impact assessment timelines, implementation of electronic deed registration to enable property development and construction, streamlining the application process for tourism transport licenses, removing restrictions on informal trading, including through changes to zoning and land use regulation. These issues continue to receive priority attention and will improve the economic prospects in small towns. In the immediate, government has introduced the integrated urban development framework that is conceptualized across a spectrum of municipal spaces. This will also complement efforts to support rural economies to thrive and anchor them on agriculture. It puts forward a new deal for South African cities and towns by providing the framework for reorganizing the system so that cities and towns can become more inclusive, safe, productive, and resource efficient. Furthermore, the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, in partnership with the South African Local Government Association, has launched a small town regeneration strategy to revive, restore, and fulfill economic potential of underperforming small towns. This strategy also embraces the value of small towns and their central position in larger hierarchical settlements while addressing the developmental needs of small towns. So far, Honorable Chairperson, the strategy is piloted in Mudimule in Limpopo, Senegal in Free State, and Piketberg in Western Cape. It is envisaged that once fully implemented, the small town regeneration strategy will be applied and adopted by all relevant municipalities. Within the context of the district development model, government's land reform program has identified agriculture as one of the key catalytic economic sectors that will continue to anchor local economic growth and job creation in predominantly rural municipalities with limited industrialization and revenue base. In this regard, state-owned land is currently being released to make land available and broaden the participation in agricultural sector by previously disadvantaged individuals. There are opportunities for growing and supporting agricultural business across the entire agricultural value chain to ensure that economic participation is enhanced. We must underscore the point, Honorable Chairperson, that the successful implementation of the district development model will require ownership by all stakeholders that are critical in development, including the private sector and civil society. Effectively implemented, we will ensure that municipalities are enabled to perform their mandate and duties by mobilizing, sharing, and making available expertise, skilled personnel, and systems between district and local municipalities whenever needed. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. We'll now move on to the first follow-up question by Honorable Khai. Honorable Khai.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and greetings to the Deputy President. And I see the on a lighter note, Honorable Chairperson, that Deputy President and I are today in the colors of the Orlando Pirates. Thank you very much. Thank you for the response. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President, for the response. Building on the capacity and economies of municipalities of rural and small towns is very important to particularly build the economic tax base for social and economic development. Honorable Deputy President, does the government have mechanisms to politically and legislatively enforce the district development model anchored on the one plan approach across all spheres of government? Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Khai. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thanks to the question. I don't know about the pirates one. I'm sure it might divide your house, Chair. The house will be divided immediately. Honorable Chairperson, the intergovernmental relations framework as it is currently, I think it does provide for cooperation between the three spheres of government. And I must say, I've seen it working. For instance, the President's coordinating forum where the President sits together with premiers, it's working very well. And I'm aware that the MINMEX are doing very well, where ministers are meeting with their MECs, their counterparts in provinces, and now the district model. We've got district champions, we've got COCTA at the center, and meetings that are coordinated at the district level, where the national departments are present, provincial departments, and municipalities in that district. They appear to be cooperating and doing very well because municipalities are benefiting in this platform because a number of support comes from provinces and it comes from national in terms of financial support and technical support in terms of skills that COCTA from time to time will bring to bear in those platforms at the district level. So we are not at the point where we think we can enforce it by introducing another legislation. We think the current legislation will suffice to take it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We move on to the second follow-up question from the EFF, Honorable Plenary. Honorable Plenary from the EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. Yes, thank you, House Chair. And the quest for service delivery in the Eastern Cape is long overdue, as lack of access to government services has been a major challenge in our municipalities, mainly due to corruption and incompetency of the ruling party at local administration level. Deputy President, when will the rural communities of the Eastern Cape be provided with adequate services? Thank you very much.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much. That is why, Honorable Member, we are emphasizing on the district development model, where we can sit around with municipalities and the province and national departments and be able to plan together, put together resources for particular projects and monitor those projects, the spending, avoid corruptions, because wherever we'll be doing this, we'll be working together with the Auditor General. We're going to audit our work as we proceed implementing those projects. So definitely, if we all encourage our provinces, our districts, and our municipalities to converge at the district level, which it has happened in a number of districts, and it's becoming successful. I hope municipalities will be able to benefit from this model. They are going to get a lot of assistance from province, from national government. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We'll move on to the third supplementary question from the AFP. Honorable Hadebe.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Deputy President. In terms of governance and service delivery failures, I would like to ask whether ESCOM is considering recommencing their program of installation of free prepaid electricity meters for vulnerable businesses and communities in rural and small towns. If not, why not? If so, what are the relevant details? I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the question. Honorable member, you'll remember that in the previous question, we have answered to say there is an active partnering model that is being developed and is currently piloted. It's under discussion between ESCOM and municipalities. Now, municipalities are requested to enter into this partnering model so that ESCOM can bring smart meters to consumers, whether business or household, so that the billing system is improved. There are no questions around the billing system, and that will enhance revenue collection on the side of municipalities. But in this case, ESCOM will collect the revenue and give the municipalities what is due to the municipality and take what is due for ESCOM. So yes, this is possible. We are starting with the top 20 municipalities that are defaulting, that are owing ESCOM, but any municipality anywhere in the country can approach ESCOM and enter into this active partnering model, because this will assess the municipality in terms of the infrastructure, the electricity infrastructure that ESCOM will provide, because ESCOM has got an interest of selling its electricity, the maintenance of that infrastructure, and ensure that revenue is collected. I think that's possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The last supplementary questions come from the DA, Honorable
Nana. Thank you very much, Chairperson of the NCOP. Good afternoon, honorable members. Well, Deputy President, you are right. If Orlando Pirates is in the house, so is Kaizer Chiefs, black and gold. Yeah. So DP, in parts of your response to the question, you correctly touched on lack of skills in municipalities and also touched on the district model. But you've also touched on the importance of revitalizing small towns and rural economies, with agriculture being a rallying point or a central point. Now, in line with your response with regards to skills and the district model, in July this year, 2022, the Minister of COGTA, Dr. Nkosazana Zuma, proposed between the worst and best performing municipalities. And there is no doubt that the best performing municipalities in the country are those run by the DA. And there is no doubt again that the worst run municipalities in our country are those that are run by the ANC. Now, my question is, will the Deputy President support a best practice summit on a municipal governance where the DA can actually teach the ANC how to run a municipality? The second question, in line with revitalizing small towns and rural economies. The Deputy President, President Ramaphosa, announced in his State of the Nation address this year that your government will accelerate the legalization and commercialization of hemp and cannabis. Given the fact that this endeavor would have a massive positive impact on the agricultural prospects of rural communities, what will you do to accelerate this program and the required legislation to make it happen? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Well, I'm not very sure about the assertion that says all best performing municipalities are from the DA. That is not backed by facts. Because if you look at what the Auditor General has published, municipalities that have received clean audits, they cut across. And if you're not careful, most of these municipalities are coming from the ANC. I know I've gone through that assessment, that audit. Well, yes, I think there should be some prospect of exchanging, sharing some good practices within municipalities in a district development model, or across provinces, because at the end of the day, we're one country. We are working towards making our country a prosperous country. So we must find a way of sharing best practices. I agree there. But let us not share best practices and come boasting to say, I'm the best, I'm the best. No, we're sharing because all of us, we've got the interest of our country in trying to make our country best. Now, when it comes to agriculture, we're coming with a lot of initiatives. Firstly, we've identified communal land where most of our people are living, right from the homeland days. We want to make that land productive and want our people to benefit from that land. Hence, the Communal Land Tenure Summit that has made a lot of proposals. Finally, we're going to see this land becoming productive. Government is going to come with production inputs and support those small-scale farmers in those communal land to produce and be productive. And we are also coming up with a strategy of introducing young people into agriculture. That strategy is coming on very well. Some land has been released to young farmers, young women, and they are starting now to till the land. They are getting supported by government, which is a good initiative, and we need to upscale that initiative. We're also trying to assist women. They came out in their numbers. Out of the 700,000 hectares of land that has been given to people, women occupies the larger number there of beneficiaries that have benefited from this land donation that we've given to women. But what is interesting is that there are private companies, mining companies that are coming forward. They've donated land to government, and we are going to rehabilitate that land and give it back to our people so that this land can be made productive. Yes, we agree that by expanding the agricultural sector, there is a possibility of making more and more job opportunities available for our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Honorable members, do allow me at this point to thank the Deputy President for coming to the NCOP to answer the various questions that have been posed by the House. To also thank the permanent and special delegates for availing themselves to this important NCO seat. I wasn't aware, I'm also told that the Premier of the Free State is in the House. We do acknowledge her, though it may be late in the day.
Yes, Chair. Great. Thank you.
A long way.
Thank you.
Long way.
Thank you very much. Honorable delegates, that concludes the business of the day. The House is now adjourned.
Thank you, Deputy President. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Deputy President.
Recording stopped.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Abantu